Hello. Today we will practice Reactjs by building an app to search profiles of GitHub users by username. So let's begin. Here I have created a new React app and you can see this here. Let's get rid of it so it's a blank slate. There. Now to fetch GitHub profiles, we'll use the GitHub API, specifically this endpoint. We'll come back to this later. And to style our React app, we'll use a component library called Evergreen. So for now, let's give our app a title. Next, let's put an input box. So this input box will control a state variable called username. Let's import useState hook. And the initial value will be an empty string. Let's pass this value to our input box. And then on change, we'll get the event and set the username to event.target.value. Okay, let's check it out. ABC. So now we have in control input box. We also need a button. Let's just call it search. And then on click, it should call a function called search profile. Now we need to create this function. Let's create an arrow function. Now let's make this function should do two things. One is call the API to get profile, and two, save the profile in a state variable. Okay. So to call the API, we'll make use of async await. So let's make this an async function. And then now let's call the API by fetching it. And we'll wrap the entire thing in a try catch block as well. Okay. So let's grab the API, this one. For now, I have hard-coded the profile username. Later, we'll make it dynamic, so whatever the user submits, that will be used. Now let's get the data. Sorry. Rest.json. Oops. Cool. Now let's just console log data to see what it gives us. Save. Let's go here. And I'll enter a username. Now click search. Now we need to check our console. Here we have the profile object. And that's our profile. So now we need to access this, which is under data.items of 0. And we need to dump that on our screen. To dump that on our screen, we need to save it in a state variable first. We'll call it profile. Profile will be an empty object to begin with. And then here, we'll set the profile to data.items of 0. And then we also will render the profile. Now the profile should have the login key present, and then we'll render it in a div. Let's just dump the JSON as it is. Cool. Let's try it out. It works. So now let's make it look a bit better. And to do that, we'll install this UI library called Evergreen UI, and then install. It's installed. So now let's go back to our editor. We first need to grab some components. Okay, so let's first update the input component. We'll need the text input. Just copy and paste it here. Now we need to import it. Here it is. And then we need to update the values. Let's just copy and paste from here. And then let's get rid of this. So here is our input box. It looks much nicer than just HTML. Let's also grab a button then. We'll do a primary button. Okay. Let's import it. So here's the import. Now let's update with the on-click search function. Copy paste to here. And this as well. And let's get rid of this. Save. And here's our button. Cool. Now let's put this information in a nice card. So first of all, we'll grab an avatar component. Let's import avatar. And the source should come from our profile. So profile, this is the key, avatar URL. We'll just copy that and we'll do profile.avatar URL. And the name should be profile.login. And here's our avatar. So now what will also happen is, in case there is a failure to fetch the image, it will display the initials of the value you pass in the name key like this. So it's a good fallback feature in this component. We have our avatar. Let's also give this a name. So we'll render the login, which is the username. Okay. We'll also display some other information like uh, the followers, the total followers, the total repositories, right? And to do that, we need to call these API endpoints to grab that data. Okay, so let's write a function to do that. We'll create two functions. One is get followers, and another one called get repo. Now we'll store these count in other state variables called followers. It will be 0 initially, and then also repo. Now, we need to basically fetch the URLs in the profile. Profile dot followers URL. Let's log it, and we'll call this from here and wrap it in a try catch block. Cool. And we'll also do the same for get repo. And to get repo, we'll use the repos URL. Okay. And we'll call the get repo after get followers. So now let's check it. Okay, so here's some mistake. I didn't catch it. Cool. So let's test it out. Right. And we also need to find other objects. There's some error at 41. Oh, so the followers URL basically gives us all the followers list, right? So basically what we can do is to So we get an array of followers. And we also get an array of all the repositories. Okay. So let's do one thing. We'll create some tabs, right? Tabs like these. And we'll make them so that we can grab them by URL. Okay. So we'll copy this. Format it. And let's import tab navigation. That's how it looks. We need to also import tab. Cool. Now we need to create a tabs array. So let's just copy these values, paste them here, and we'll import use memo hook. Here it is. And we'll call one tab followers, the other tab repository. For now, let's just keep these two. Okay. So now we should have two tabs. Let's give it a go. And here we have two tabs, followers and repositories. So now we need to render these tabs. Okay. So first things first, we'll check if the selected index is 0. If it is, we'll render the followers tab. Or just followers. Now this should be a list, right? This should be a list. Do we have a list? Uh, I'm just checking which component makes the most sense. I think table should be good. Okay. So I guess we'll just grab this one. Let's import table. And this is how it should be imported. Now here we'll get the followers and do something with them. Okay. And we need to set the followers first. Set followers. And basically the array data. Similarly, and we'll set repo to data. So now we have followers. We need to do something with them. The profile will be the same as what we got. No, it's a bit more detailed. So let's display only a few things from here. Oh, these are the repos. These are the followers. Right. Yeah, so it's the same basically as previous. Let's just display the login and the avatar. Okay, dot login. And let's grab the avatar from here. Instead of profile, let's call it just P to avoid naming conflicts. And let's get rid of this last row column. Yeah. Let's save. Cool. So instead of profile, we need P, and same here as well. Cool. So here we have a list of followers. Let's change the table titles as well. We call it username avatar. Switch them up. No. Let's remove the or we can search. Let's remove the search function. Yeah. So we have a table of followers. Cool. Let's also create a button so we can visit the profiles. Call it visit profile. And the link should go to I think we can figure out the link. Okay, here it is. URL. No, I think we can figure out the link ourselves. So if we go on GitHub and we search for anyone, let's say. Right. So we'll follow this format. Right. And then we'll add profile dot login. So now when I click on this, it goes there, right? Let's remove the click handler on the table. Cool. And now let's give it a try. Oops. Follow should be an array, right? Cool. So for some reason we are not getting the follows, and that's why there was an error. I see. Here's as followers. For some reason it's not giving us 38. On select proc, but you passed on click. Okay, let's change it to on select. Oh, it could be because by the time get follows is called, we might not have that in state. I see. We'll just pass the profile then in this case. Oh, yeah. That was the issue that when we just call the function, and what happens is sometimes before the profile state variable is set, the followers and repo functions are called before that, right? So to avoid that, we'll just pass the profile directly from here, and using that passed variable, these functions access the profile. Cool. So what if we click this? No, goes object object. Why does it go object object? Okay, profile, right? So we need to go profile.login. So now, okay, it goes profile.login, but we have named it just P. Cool. So now this should work. Cool. Yeah. Now let's make this dynamic and also get rid of this. Cool. And let's make this dynamic. So instead of a hard coded value, we pass in the username, basically. So it could be anything. Let's say this one. Yeah, works fine. Now let's add a loading state to the button. Uh, Here is a search button. We'll add an is loading, and we need to set it to something. So while our profile is searching, we create another variable called loading. We set it to true, and let's create that here. Will be false at first. And then, so if the search profile function fails, then we set it to false. Same for, yeah. Or instead, we can add a finally block, and regardless of any case, we set the loading to false. Cool. And we'll also disable the button until the loading is complete. So this should be, yes. Let's try. Okay. So it loads now. We have a loading state. We have our own profile. Let's add some margin first. Oh, so we have the followers list. Let's also make the table width a bit less. Yeah, this looks much better. And for height, can we just give it auto? Yeah. So now this page looks good. Let's bring our avatar before uh, the username and switch these. And we'll also add one more. Cool. This looks much better. Now let's work on the repositories tab. This will be a final feature. You can check out our repositories as well. So basically, we had the repo getting saved in the repo variable. Let's also change it to an empty array at first. All we need is just to render it. So what we'll do is, let's copy this entire thing. Okay. Wait, instead of that, yeah, this one. So here we'll check if the selected index is 1. We'll render. And what do we get from repositories? Okay. Is there a name? Cool. So we'll fetch the name. Uh, We'll fetch the name, we'll fetch the forks count, and we'll link to the URL. Cool. Let's do these three things. So this should be the name. This should go to the full name. And well, let's just fetch the description instead of forks. And let's remove this. And change this to view repo. Cool. Oops. So if it's one, yeah, we need the repos now. Cool. So now we should have this. Yeah, look at that. We have the repo name, some description. Now, if the description is not present, if it's not present, then just display NA, else just display the description. Cannot read properties of length. Why is it? Cool. Okay, so we have our repositories tab working, main, let's also view repo. Okay, so we need to fix this. Yeah, so it should go to HTTPS and then yeah. Wait, that's the full name, right? So we need to go to some GitHub URL. Is there a URL? And that's the GitHub pages. Yeah. So we are looking for HTML URL key. Okay. And it works. So you can now come here and search for any GitHub profile, see their followers, see the repositories as well. Now, as a homework, what you can do is add a third tab called following. And in that, you need to call the API, which you get in your own profile. So, for example, this following URL, right? So, you need to create another function called get following, pass in the profile, fetch the profile following URL from the profile, save it in a state variable of set following, and then finally render it in another tab uh, here. So that's a homework for you. Let me know if you face any difficulties in the comments. And I'll put this entire source code on GitHub. You'll find the link in the description. And if you learned something here today, and if you want more videos like this, please like this video. Let me know in the comments and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.